This is Capital Games, I am the Wiz, and this is the Weekly Dividend for Saturday, May 13th, 2023. I am going to change the date where I'm going to do the Weekly Dividend. I'm going to now do it on Saturdays. That way I can get all the stories from the week. Usually there's nothing on Friday that is too big, but I want to put that in anyway. But the real reason is that the film podcast that I do with both Zero and Kim, we need to switch up the dates at which we need to record. Me and Zero are still going to do it on Tuesday, but me and Kim are going to do ours on Friday. So that's why we're switching everything up here. I also want to note that as time goes on, you might see some changes going on the channel and on the Weekly Dividend as well. I don't see myself stopping the Weekly Dividend. I like doing this, and it's fun for me. But I might change some things that I've been covering in the past. I'm going to still stick to games, of course, but maybe get into more rumor territory and stuff like that, more general news. So I just want to point that out as well. So if you start seeing more topics that aren't really business focused when it comes to the gaming industry, that's why. So we're probably gonna change things up a little bit on the channel as time goes on. Well, today I'm going to play Ironcast. This game came out in 2015, I think? Yeah. It's been out for a while, and this game I would describe as a part roguelike, part match-3 puzzler. It's actually really good. I actually like this game a lot. I've played about 4 or 5 hours of it, and, I haven't beaten it, but it is a fun game. As the roguelike element is basically when you play the game and you die, you get XP that unlocks different things. So that's where the roguelike element comes in. But it's actually a really good game, and I like the aesthetic as well of it. So I thought this might be a decent game to try out if you haven't tried it yet. I think this goes for $10 on Steam. It's on PS4 as well. So let me just check that real quick. Ironcast is $15 on Steam, and there's a complete collection that is $20. The complete collection, I believe, has it looks like it's 2 different packs on there. So you get the complete game for $20, and then the just the standalone game's $15. I have a lot of fun with this game. I think it's pretty damn good. But this is probably on sale a lot, so you can probably wait for a sale when that comes up. But I would definitely recommend you guys trying this if you haven't played it. And if you're someone like me who likes the Puzzle Quest games, but you just do not like the fact they've turned into free-to-play grind fests, Ironcast is fun. I would definitely give it a shot. So let's get into a new game right here, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do here. Yeah, so there are different characters that have different abilities that you can try out. I forget which abilities that these people have, but yeah, matching 6 or more energy nodes reduces the energy cost of activating the shield and drive systems. So there's different things that you can do in this. There's also different mechs that you can try that have different abilities. We're going to just keep it as it is right now. Okay, so let's start the game. And then you can workshop certain things. You can get different types of weapons. There you go. And there you go. And then you can upgrade those weapons as well. It's pretty deep. It's actually, again, it's a really good game. I actually like this game quite a bit. Haven't played it in a while, so I might be a little rusty. Let's start a mission and see how this turns out. Alright, so let's get to the first story here. We're going to go into some Switch talk here. And Nintendo has no plans to drop prices for the Switch, nor new hardware, as sales slow down on the Switch. This was eventually going to happen with the Switch, of course. They've been having really strong sales since the beginning, and a lot of people, including myself, were wondering exactly when was it going to start slowing down. And there you go. And this is not really a big surprise that it's starting to, you know, slow down a little bit. But that does not mean that I think it's probably going to drop in sales precipitously. No, I think it's still going to be doing really good. A lot of people were thinking the sales are probably going to pick back up once the Legend of Zelda game comes out, but I don't think that's the case. I think everybody I think everybody who has gotten the Switch is going to get, or who wants the game and already got the Switch. There might be some who will want to get the Zelda OLED. That might boost a little bit of sales, but I still think it's going to keep going down as time goes on. Let's walk a little here so we can get a little bit closer. Fire the weapon. Alright. And then what do we do here? Okay. So yeah, this is not a surprise. I still think the sales are going to be excellent for the Switch. And this is just Nintendo basically saying, hey, even though our sales are slowing down, we have no plans on new hardware, configurations, or anything along those lines at this time. Which, again, not a surprise. So let's move on to the next story here. Let's turn. Zelda OLED boosted Switch console sales in the UK. It's probably going to boost them in the US too. That, again, not a real surprise. Oh my god. And there goes my weapon. Wow, that was quick. Huh. Yeah, this game can be pretty tough. But yeah, not a surprise. I think this will do the same in the US and other countries too. It'll be for about a month or so, and then it will go back to its regular cadence. But again, not really a surprise here. I doubt you all are surprised as well by this. Next story, Sharp is making LCD displays for a quote-unquote new console. And that new console is rumored to be the Switch successor. That wouldn't surprise me either, to a certain extent. For a little bit, I kept thinking that there's the possibility that, okay, can't do anything here. But there's a possibility that Nintendo might do what they usually do, or that they've done in certain times, and just do a completely different console. They did it after the N64, even though I think the N64 was kind of a bomb. They did it again with the GameCube, which then led to the Wii. They kind of didn't do that with the Wii U, but it was a lot different than the Wii specifically. And then of course they did something completely different with the Switch. So my thought process was they are probably going to do the Switch again, but they could do a different twist on the Switch. But the question I have is it going to be backwards compatible with the old Switch titles? We don't know that yet, but my guess is probably yes. But would I be surprised if they don't do it? Not really. Nintendo usually throws curveballs whenever they want at a certain point, so we will see when that happens. But the rumor of this possibly being the Switch successor, yeah, I think that makes sense. So we'll move on to the final story for Switch Talk here. Okay. Nintendo hints that the Switch successor will be announced closer to launch than original Switch. Yeah, I don't think you guys... Maybe you don't remember this, but when the original Switch was announced to be in development, it was codenamed the NX, I think it was. And... I forgot about shields. That's why I got creamed. I forgot about the shields. But, yeah, like, it was codenamed the NX, and they announced it, I believe it was 2 years before the console was actually announced. And that was because the Wii U was doing so poorly that they felt like they had to say, like, hey, we're not... I think it was because they weren't developing any games for it. They essentially were like, yeah, we're done with the console, we're moving on. We're going to do a brand new system. It is basically what happened when it came to the Wii U. And it was 2 years later when the Switch was formally announced, and then it was released, I think, a year later. No, that doesn't sound right. I think it was 2 years before the release. A year before the release, it was formally announced and shown off in that video that they had with the guy walking his dog, and I think y'all remember that one. And then... There we go. And then after that, it was released a year later. So, the thought process I have here is we're going to hear something around April, May of next year, and it will probably be out Christmas of that year. That's my feeling. I don't think they're going to wait long. I think they're going to announce it, and then they're going to start the hype cycle right away to announce it as... We'll get her fix the defenses here. Yeah, they're going to start the hype cycle up right away and possibly make a big deal out of it. There we go. See? I knew I was messing up something. But yeah, I think they're going to start that hype cycle up pretty quick. So that's not a surprise to me, at least. The reason why they gave so much time to the NX Switch was basically because the Wii U was a disaster. So, yeah, not a surprise. Alright, let's move on to the next section here, which is sales numbers. Horizon Forbidden West reaches 8.4 million sales, puts the franchise at 32.7 million. Wow, I didn't even realize that the Horizon series had that much sales already. Wow. Some might be a little bit surprised because the talk of Horizon Forbidden West died really quick after it was released. But that's because Elden Ring came out, I think, a week or two later after that. So I don't think that was really the fault of... Okay, let's see. Let's do this one. I don't think that was entirely the fault of Horizon Forbidden West. It got good reviews. People, gamers pretty much liked the game, but it just got overshadowed by... excuse me. It just got overshadowed by by Elden Ring, essentially. So that's mainly why that happened. But like 8.4 is pretty good. They'll probably have a complete edition come out, I would say. I don't know. I don't think there is more DLC coming for that. So I would say a complete edition will probably be in the fall. And then there's probably going to be another boost in sales at that point. And then they'll probably start developing the next one, if they're not developing it already. Alright. So let's move on to the next one here. Sticking to sales numbers. Capcom has recorded sales as... I'm sorry, let me say that again. Capcom has record sales as share prices reach all-time high. Yeah, the share price on Monday reached 5,270 yen, which is an equivalent of $38.97. And if Street Fighter 6 does as well as people think it's going to, that price is gonna go up and up and up. Again, I am not somebody who is a financial advisor. Do not take my advice seriously. Do not, don't. I'm not an expert, so if you take what I'm saying literally, your fault. But if you got money and you want a good investment, I don't see why Capcom isn't a bad idea. I mean, they're going to announce a new Monster Hunter at some point. They already announced the mobile one, which I don't think is exactly one that counts, but they definitely... There we go. They're definitely going to announce a new one there. And then Exo Primal comes out, which is getting some moderate buzz. But that might turn out to be pretty well, too. And then you have Street Fighter 6 that's coming out. Dragon's Dogma 2 might be announced at some point. I mean, you have a lot of things that Capcom has coming up. And if you really want like an investment opportunity, that might not be such a bad idea. Again, not an expert. Do not listen to me. I am not somebody you go call for financial advice. Like, let me just reiterate that. But yeah, I think it will be interesting to see if that share price keeps going up. Like, Capcom is definitely on the rise here. Ooh, I better get shields up. Ooh, I'm almost dead. Okay, so let's move on to the next one here. We're gonna go into okay, let me raise here. Let's go into a new segment called the Non-E3 time frame. Yeah, there's a lot of things that were discussed and announced this week in regards to the Non-E3 time, which is of course where all the announcements are gonna happen throughout the industry. That's like Summer Games Fest. It's all the things that are being announced around that time frame that usually would be E3. First off, over 40 partners, including Xbox and PlayStation, will be at Summer Games Fest 2023. I'm still not expecting a lot of big announcements at this year's Summer Games Fest. It might be... What do I do here? There might be some interesting announcements, but I'm not expecting, like, big announcements. Some have discussed whether they think Silk Song will be there. I don't think it will be. It looks like the... I think Nintendo pretty much has that... Oh. It looks like Nintendo kind of has that all to themselves. So if Silk Song has something that's coming up, it'll probably be on Nintendo Direct. They've already announced on Twitter recently that they had to delay the game again, and they're hoping for the end of the year. So if they get on track for the end of the year, I would expect the September Direct to be the time where they formally announce the game. That would be my... That's what I think on this. Let's try it back. So that's my opinion on that. Moving on, Devolver Digital Showcase confirmed for June. The thing with Devolver Digital is that they're memorable more for their comedy than anything else. But if you guys don't remember, their last showcase had some pretty memorable announcements. I think Skate Story was one, The Plucky Squire was another. And those were really interesting. I think, what was that one? Oh god, Angry Feet or Anger Feet? Angerfoot, I think was what it was called, was also an interesting announcement too. Like, they have some quality games there. So even though it's known for its funny, like, interpretation of the gaming industry and what they do in this around this time, there are interesting games that come out that are announced on there. So I am definitely interested in seeing what they show off during that. And then finally, Sony may have the PlayStation Showcase before Summer Games Fest. Yeah, I would say about maybe a week before the Summer Games Fest, Sony will probably announce that they're having their PlayStation Showcase, and then they'll do it about 2 or 3 days later. I think that's usually the MO of PlayStation. They wait until... There we go. They wait until maybe a few days beforehand, and then they have their big shindig. I think is what's going to happen. And since it's a PlayStation Showcase, they probably want to give it more time to add more to the hype of what's going to go down on their program. So, as for what's going to be announced, I have no idea. Like, I have some idea, I guess. I mean, well, not really. So we'll see on that. I don't know off the top of my head what I think might be coming, but we will see. It might be an interesting one this year. Announcements and release dates that are coming. Lords of the Fallen might be released in October. The only thing I remember with Lords of the Fallen is that it had a pretty generic-looking Souls-like trailer with Danzig singing Mother in the background for whatever reason that was. That's the most that I remember with Lords of the Fallen. And, okay, fine. Like, I know people who are into those Souls-like games might be a little excited for it. I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, we'll see. The last Lords of the Fallen wasn't that great that I recall. So, yeah, we will see exactly how that turns out. And I would expect something in Summer Games Fest if that is true. Moving on, the ROG Ally is releasing June 13th. It's priced at $700. Okay, so I glanced over the specs for the system, and it looks to be a little bit more powerful than the Steam Deck. What that means exactly, I mean, I don't think it will reach the sales of the Steam Deck as it is right now, even though I think the Steam Deck, they have good sales, but I don't think it's a fantastic amount of sales. I don't know off the top of my head. But the Steam Deck has the Steam interface, and it has the branding, which I think is the reason why it works so well, and people like it so much. They can interface with Steam on that handheld. So I don't think the ROG Ally is gonna do that great. It might do pretty well, actually. There might be a dedicated fan base that would really like that thing and be able to play Windows games that are not on Steam. If that's what they want, I mean, that's definitely something they can do. But in regards to sales, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna reach the amount of what the Steam Deck did, but it's gonna do well enough. Unless there is a catastrophic problem with that. I don't really follow the tech sector too much. That's more Zero's thing, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that as time goes on. Let's see. Raise the defenses. Let's take a walk. There we go. Alright. Okay, moving on. Hogwarts Legacy for Switch was delayed until November. Not a big deal. I mean, this might be to clean things up and to make sure it runs better. It also might be to make sure it gets the maximum amount of sales it really needs. I would not be surprised if the Hogwarts Legacy has a big campaign during the Christmas season to say to like parents and to kids who aren't in the know or didn't know that there was a Harry Potter game, that there's a Harry Potter game and it's Christmas and you may want it. I would not be surprised if that's what they're trying to do here, and that generally does work. So we will see what happens with that. I still think the Switch might be the one system that if the game is running well, that might be where... Okay, here we go. Yeah, I think that the Switch is the system where the most sales are going to come from when it comes to the Hogwarts Legacy. I know some are like, that's crazy, like, you'd want it on a better system and everything. And I get that too. I'm that way. I would rather have it in a brand new system, but not a lot of people really care about that, really. Like, if you're just a regular person who plays games or who only plays games once in a while and you have a Switch, I mean, and you hear that, oh, the new Harry Potter game is out, you're just going to get the Harry Potter game on Switch unless someone tells you specifically, actually, it's better on the Xbox Series X. If you have a Switch, you don't care. You're going to get it on the Switch. And since the Switch has a big base, I think it just makes sense that it's going to make more sales there than it's going to make on any other system. So we will see when that happens. I'm going to be curious to see what the sales are on the previous gen consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One. I don't think I've heard anything in regards to that yet, so we will see when that happens. Definitely want to build up my defenses real quick. Let's get some ammunition. Okay, move on to the next story here. Amnesia the Bunker delayed until June. I talked about this a little bit on the new releases for the month. Not a big fan of horror games. I'm not a big fan of anything horror, to be absolutely honest with you. So I was really curious as to what the sales were going to be like for this game. Even though I really didn't hear much in regards to... Yeah, I didn't really hear much in regards to how people follow the game. But the Outlast trials were coming around the same time, so I thought that was going to be interesting to see how that turned out. But it looks like that's not happening now. They're going to just delay it until June. So that might not be such a bad idea. Just give the Outlast trials their the chance to do whatever they need to do on there, and then if people really want that game, or if they don't like that game, and then they just come back, oh, the new Amnesia's coming out? Oh, yeah, I'll get that. And then you're set on that end. So I think that's not a bad idea on their end. I am probably going to die on this one. Moving on to the next one, Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Likely not releasing before April 2024. Okay. I read this article, I'm like, okay. There was a leak that happened in regards to Dreadwolf a few months ago that showed off gameplay, and the gameplay showed that it was a God of War-like game. It was not an RPG. It was, they were aping God of War, essentially, the new ones. And on the one hand, I wouldn't mind a side story of sorts with that is like a God of War game for Dragon Age, but a whole $70 game when what people really want is an RPG that are into that game, like I think that's a bad idea. The gameplay looked decent from the leak that I saw. But again, like when I think Dragon Age, I want. Yep. Yeah, when I think Dragon Age, I want an RPG. I don't want like a God of War title. And if that's what they're doing with this now, it's like, oh, that kind of sucks, actually. So, I guess and I might be wrong, these are leaks, and it might be, it might still be an RPG or have RPG mechanics, so we'll see. But if that's the case, I mean, I think this could disappoint a lot of fans of Dragon Age. I think, at least. I think people who are into Dragon Age have been wanting an RPG, and the fact that they probably are not going to get it kind of sucks. Moving on to the next one, Hollow Knight Silksong delayed again. Date was supposed to be the first half of 2023. Yeah, the creator of Silksong basically went on Twitter and said, "Yeah, we were supposed to release it the first half of this year, but we hit some problems and we have to delay it." People are willing to wait for this game, so I don't think anybody was that upset other than, oh, that sucks, I kind of want to play that. But I think they're going to be okay on that end. So it's definitely not going to be that much an issue, but it definitely gives them more pressure that they have to... Yep. It definitely gives them more pressure that they have to perform and do and make sure this game kills it. I guess for context, I really wasn't a fan of Hollow Knight. I know a lot of people are, and I get it. I think the combat was pretty good, but there were just some like annoying things about it I just did not like, and I kind of fell right off of it. So that's my opinion on Hollow Knight. I know, sacrilegious. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Good lord. Next up is more on the Activision Blizzard buyout. EA CEO Andrew Wilson is indifferent to buyout, says that they will still be the #1 Xbox platform publisher. Yeah, I mean, let's be fair here. I don't think Andrew Wilson is that... I think he's a little bit miffed about it. But on the other hand, does it really hurt his bottom line? Not really. You're going to still want people who want to play Madden and FIFA, and they do play them on Xboxes. And like he said, they still are the best publisher on Xbox when it comes to sales. And I don't think that's changing either. So, yeah, on that point, I mean, I guess with like most CEOs, they either don't care or they're like, I'd rather not, but whatever, it's fine, I don't care. It is kind of what it seems like with most CEOs, except for Google and here we go, except for Google and Sony, essentially. So that I guess is not too much of a surprise on that end. Uh-oh. I'm gonna get smacked around. And then, apparently, the news story came out. I'm posting this as rumor for right now, but the EU will reportedly approve the Activision Blizzard buyout this week. Now, let's be fair here. There have been rumors saying that it was going to happen for the UK before it was announced they were blocking it. I mean, the EU might very well do it, and if they do, it's going to make it really interesting to see what the CMA does after this. And let's also not forget the United States. I forget what the I think it's the FTC. It's probably not the FTC, but yeah, it is the FTC. I'm sorry. The FTC is still likely gonna want to block it, and they're gonna be a bit of a hindrance on this, but yeah, I mean, I will say that I will believe it when I see it. Essentially, especially with what's gone on in the past few weeks. in regards to the Activision Blizzard buyout. So yeah, we'll see. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. That's essentially how I'm going to take it. I think everyone has to take that chance at this point. Okay, moving on to shutdowns, layoffs, and signings. Sony shuts down Concrete Genie studio Pixel Opus. This happened on Saturday. Yeah, I wasn't even aware they were making a new game, to be completely honest. And they probably were. And what generally happens in these cases, if a studio is making a game, and they're either their first few games, or in their case, I think their first game, didn't exactly like the world on fire, and yeah, it didn't exactly like the world on fire, and if their game wasn't coming along fast enough from Sony, they might have just said, let's just cut the cord and move on. Hopefully these people will find new jobs. I don't think they're canning everybody. I think they're all going to move to different studios. I am not sure. They didn't go into that depth in regards to it. But yeah, that sucks. I hate when that happens, but unfortunately that is the business when it comes to the gaming industry. Get a new thing here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. PlayStation back Deviation Games hit with layoffs. If you don't remember Deviation Games, they announced that they were forming their group at the Summer Games Fest, I think in 2020. And that's it. That's all they've done so far. They are making a game. It's a new IP for Sony, but they haven't announced anything other than that. So it's been kind of like, yeah, we're doing something, and then silence is essentially what's been going on. Now, they may have begun... well, they probably... What happens with these types of development cycles, too, is that when they no longer need certain types of people, they lay off people, essentially. So, like, if the writing phase is done, and they have what they're doing, and they're on to development, they might lay off the writers in that case. That does happen from time to time. And that might be what is happening to with Deviation Games, but I can't be certain on that, but we will... Ooh, I need energy. Okay, cool. Here we go. Get those shields up. Take a walk. Very good. Okay. We'll move on to the next one. We'll move on to the final story here. Take-Two publishing label Private Division signs a new action-adventure IP deal from Game Freak. Some of you probably weren't aware until until they announced it, is that Game Freak has been making games for other consoles for the past, God, has it been like 8 years now? They've done other Switch games, that is true. But they also did a game for the PS4 and Xbox called Tembo the Badass Elephant. And that was a decent game. It was fun for what it was. But them publishing and creating games for other consoles is not exactly new. It's just rare, I think, for them. They don't do it often. But when they're doing this type of deal, I thought one of two things. Either they are going to branch out and do new things, and they're gonna build up more people and staffing for their studios, so they can do other projects. Or another thought I had as well. Could it be the possibility that Game Freak might not be doing Pokemon anymore? I mean, could Pokemon Company... Oh my god, what just happened? That's not good. Could the Pokemon Company might be looking to other developers to develop Pokemon games? That might be what's happening here. We might get that announcement that the new Pokemon game might not be done by Game Freaking Creatures Inc. That might be what happens at some point. So would that surprise me? A little bit, but then again, not really. So we will see as that comes along. And that is the last story that we have for the Weekly Dividend this week. Let's talk about next week. Next week, I'm definitely going to do a story on the sales potential for LEGO 2K Drive that comes out Friday. That was announced pretty recently, but I think there is some big potential with that game, and in regards to sales. I don't know in regards to gameplay-wise. You just don't know, but I think if that is a halfway decent game, that could be a big sales force for 2K on that. I mean, LEGO is still a very popular brand, so it wouldn't be surprising to find out that that game does really well sales-wise. Oh man, I am going to get creamed. Fire that. Jesus, what is that? Okay, and then we'll also have the Weekly Dividend. As for the movie club, Tuesday, me and Zero are going to review the Zhang Yimou movie Hero, starring Jet Li from the early 2000s. Great movie. I can't wait to watch that again. That was a really good movie when I saw it in the theaters back in the day. So I'm looking forward to seeing that again. And then Friday, me and Kim are going to watch and review Licorice Pizza. That was the Paul Thomas Anderson film from 2021. That was nominated for a few Oscars that year. So I am going to look forward to seeing that as well. I haven't seen that yet. I wanted to. But, yeah, now we have the excuse to watch it. So I am going to check that out at some point as well throughout the week to review it on Friday. Let's get to this last part, and then we will call it a night, guys. I think I'll go more into what's going on with the channel, or with both channels, actually. In regards to the game channel, I'm going to mix things up a bit on this. I still want to cover a lot of the business aspects of video games, but I think I want to start doing more general content as well when it comes to video games. So I might pivot around that time. And if I do, I will probably rename the channel something else at that time. So if you come and find the name has changed at a certain point, don't be too alarmed. I'm just going to pivot to something while doing the stuff I've been doing for the past year. Wow. What? Oh, I was having wasn't paying attention. So yeah, expect some changes going on with both channels. I'm going to start doing a few things new on the movie channel. But yeah, I think a name change is coming up on this. So, yeah. Alright, guys. Well, that is it for the Weekly Dividend for Saturday, May 13th, 2023. Tune in next week where I talk about all the things that happened in the week of video games. I am The Wiz. This is the Weekly Dividend. Talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to this podcast segment. The Capital Games podcast is done every week, and we post it on all your favorite podcast apps, as well as segments on YouTube. If you want to listen to another segment, you can listen to a new one right there on the screen. We also do a movie podcast called the Capital Games Movie Club. If you'd like, you can go ahead and click on that and see all the movies that we have reviewed from that point. Thank you for listening, and we hope to hear from you soon.